So I wanted to do a really quick explanation of why I cut the video so short last week. I mean, it kind of just ended, you know, no explanation, it just ended. But what happened, my wife had got hurt real bad a couple weeks ago. She slipped on the floor in the kitchen after she mopped it, and she had a jar of canned mushrooms in her hand, and she landed on her hand with that jar, and it shattered, and it cut her from between the little finger and ring finger into a V shape down, and then from across her ring finger like this right here. And the only thing probably kept from cutting her ring finger off was her wedding ring, but it cut between the ring finger and the middle finger and cut the web in between all the way through and down into a V shape on her palm here. And we went to the closest hospital because she was bleeding really bad, and I wanted to take her to one of the bigger hospitals, but you know, one's about an hour away from us, one's about an hour and a half away from us, so the big ones. But you know, she was scared and she was bleeding real bad, so we went to that hospital. And long story short, they said they was going to do x-rays, and they didn't do it. And after about 2.5 hours of her laying there, I went out and raised pure hell. And so the ER doctor came in and was going to just sew her up without cleaning it. And I went off. I told her, I said, listen, you got to clean that. And so she, you know, told somebody to bring her some stuff to clean her hand with, and she cleaned it, and she poked around a little bit on it after she got it numb, and she found a little piece of glass, and she just quit right there and started sewing it up. And she said, we'll come back next week and we'll take the stitches out. But 3 days later, she started running a fever, and her hand was, I mean, it was hot. You could just touch it and you could feel the heat coming off of her hand. So we went to her local doctor, her regular doctor, and she said, you need to go to a hospital with a hand surgeon immediately. So that night, that was a Friday night, we went to one of the bigger hospitals, and they done some x-rays and said, yeah, you still got glass in your hand. So they scheduled her to see a hand surgeon on Monday, you know, the next Monday. We went in, he done x-rays and some kind of a scan on her hand, and said, you've got 3 pieces of glass in your hand. He said, I can't tell how big they are, but he said, I can see it. So they scheduled her for surgery on that Wednesday, and she was in surgery for almost 3 hours. And they had to do a cadaver graft on the nerve, because one nerve was completely cut and separated that goes to her middle finger. And another one was almost cut too. It didn't cut the actual nerve, it cut what they call the sheath of the nerve, and just like peeled it. And she had a tendon that was cut, but the doctor said that will probably heal. But the nerve cut is going to be the problem. So they said 6 to 8 months before we know if it actually takes or not. And so anyway, this next Wednesday will be a week ago that she had surgery. So we went back yesterday and had her checkup on it. And it's really not looking good for her hand. She, the tissue in between her little finger and the ring, or the middle finger, where it cut that in the V, all that tissue in between here is dying, because it cut the blood flow to it, and the way that doctor sewed it up, it didn't heal, and especially where that glass was in there. And they said where that glass was left in there, that's probably what cut that one nerve in two. So I'm beyond mad about that. I can't tell you on here how I really feel, but I'm mad about it. And but anyway, they're going to have to, they've got her scheduled for another surgery in 7 days if this stuff that they gave her to try to help regenerate that tissue doesn't work. If it don't work, she's going to have reconstruction on her hand and a skin graft. We don't know if, how that's going to go, but I guess we'll find out in a few days, what's going to happen. But anyway, I'm going to get back on this root rake. She's at home. She's not feeling very good, and she's been really sick for the last couple of days. Don't know what's causing that. I don't know if it's the antibiotics or what, but anyway, I'm gonna get back on this root rake and try to get something done on this thing. Okay, so I'm going back to my track torch to cut my bevel on this plate here. I was going to bevel the teeth on the sides, but the ones in the middle, I can just side weld those, and I'll just build the weld up real good. But on the end pieces, I figured it'd be better to bevel the top plate. And so instead of using the CNC, I'm going to use the track torch. Now, I've never used this thing before to cut an angle, to cut a bevel on the metal, so if I screw this up, don't laugh at me. So I've got this thing set at a 45-degree angle, and I'm not really sure the best way to make sure that it gets square on this thing. I think probably what I could do is use this angle right here, and I'll draw me a line, a straight line on it, because I know these sides are square. So So if this comes out, on that line, just like it was on this side, it'll be okay. It's off just a little bit. There's probably a better way to do this, but it seems like a good idea to me here, so. Okay, so that looks good right there. Like I said, I've never done this before, so I'm not real sure where the torch needs to hit this to get the right angle. So I'm just going to have to play this by ear. Or eyeball it, or whatever you want to call it. I got to turn my torches on. Well, I messed up bad when I was down here when my wife fell, and she called me, and I ran off and left my torches on, and they've been on for a week and a half now, and I lost about half of my oxygen on a brand new bottle of oxygen. I just had it filled. to do my heat pass on it here. So that wasn't enough right there. I'm going to have to go back just a little bit. That's still not enough. So that cut pretty good, but you can also tell where I made multiple passes, the metal started heating up in it. See how it changed colors? And the hotter the metal gets overall, it stops cutting really good. It's still good, but it starts getting the scale on it. Where it gets so hot, it's actually melting before it can cut. So it'll still be all right. The reason I wanted to cut this plate instead of the teeth is on this outside one, the tooth will set right there, and I'll weld this up in here and on the back side, and then I'm going to put a plate on the outside just to make sure it's strong enough. So I'm going to turn this plate around and cut the other side. I'm not going to record it because, I mean, you've already seen what I'm doing. So let me get that done and I'll get back. So I got this other side cut now. It's beveled. And I've been thinking about how I was going to do this. And probably what I'm going to do is get the middle tooth on first. That way I can make sure it's in line, and I'll tack weld it in straight. And then I'll move outwards. And that way I'll have something, you know, a reference point to go to. So this thing's still hot. I hope I'm not messing up using these light gloves. But I absolutely hate wearing welding gloves. I know once I get this thing done, I'm gonna have to use the skid steer to get it off this table, because I don't know how heavy it's going to be, but I know one thing: it's going to be heavier than I can move. Oh, I guess I need to grind this end off first. Woo, it's still warm. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a difference on this side. This metal, when they cut it, I'm assuming it got really hot on this long cut because they cut a long bevel on this one side. And it caused this end to curl up where it got so hot. I mean, it's not going to matter. I'll just have to, you know, make sure I get a good penetration weld on this part right here where it's curled. Okay, I just realized something I messed up on. I mean, it's not really a mess up, but when I took my measurements for this metal to make the ears, I measured on this side right here, on the top side of the bevel. So, and you can see right here it's beveled that way. So my ears actually are the same width as the side that's got the long bevel on it. So I'm going to have to flip this plate and put these teeth on the opposite side instead of this side. So it's not a big deal. It's just, that may actually make it easier to weld on since I've got that little curl in the end here. Well, I just realized something again. I can't flip the plate over because I've already beveled it for that side. So I guess it's just going to have to work the way it is. See, my beveled side for the welding is on this side, so it's just going to have to be this way. Plus, I've already got this side measured out, so sounds like a plan to me. So this will go over here like that. So that's on down the road. See, this will go flush with the end here, and then I'll fill that in with weld. But like I said, I'm gonna start on the middle tooth first anyway. Man, that thing's gonna be a beast. I had to turn on the ventilation fan. It was getting pretty hot in here. I hope you can hear me over that thing. And we was on the way back from her appointment yesterday with that hand specialist, and I was trying to make her feel better because she'd been crying, really upset. And I told her, I said, well, there's one good thing about your hand being hurt. She said, what's that? And I said, well, at least now you won't be able to flip me off. She goes, really? And she looked at me and she said, I've still got one good hand. So she got me on that one. And she said, besides that, I'm right-handed. So let's see, I think I'm going to turn this around this way. hope these magnets will hold this. Let me just experiment here and see. I think it'll work. Okay. Well, I'm gonna get this center ground down and get it marked out back where it's supposed to be, and we'll start welding this thing on. Okay, so I got this ground down and got it marked back where it's supposed to go, dead center. So let's see if we can get this thing stood up there and try to get it tacked on. It's a bad thing about these magnets here is it picks up every bit of your grinding slag and everything. So I'd like to have some of the ones that has the switch on them. I don't know if you've seen them or not, but they've got them now that has a switch that you can release the magnet and that stuff will fall off. But they're pretty expensive. I ain't got that kind of money. That's why half the stuff I've got I made. That's why I'm making this. Because I can't afford one. I may be wrong, but I think this is going to be just as good or better than some of the ones I could buy. So. Now how is that not square and I'm using 6 square magnets? I'm glad I checked that. So you have to keep checking this as you're welding. Because when you weld, see, like if I weld on this side, it will pull the top this way. If I weld over here, it'll pull it that way. So that's why I go back and forward. Once you get it to a certain point, it'll stop doing that. But so once I get this one perfectly straight, I'll build off of it to keep the others straight. So I'm going to grind these other locations and start tacking the other ones in place too. So even though I've got this tacked on and it was perfectly straight, so now it's cooled down a little bit. I don't know if you can tell it or not, but look at the top part of my little square here. So it's moved. So it's moved to 1/8 inch on the whole length of the tooth. So what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll weld some more on this side and pull it back into place, and then I'm going to put a cross brace on it to keep it in place. That's crazy. You sit and watch it pull as it cools down. I wish I could get it close enough where you could see that. I'll try to zoom in on it when I do the editing. See, it's almost back over where it should be now. Let's see if it'll pull over and if you can see it or not. It takes it a few seconds once it cools down, and then it'll start, as it's cooling, it'll pull. There it goes. You probably won't be able to see it, but it's moving now. It's just crazy how that works. My problem is, let's see, maybe I can scoot this up. Yeah. But no, it won't lock in. See there? It pulled over now. It's flush. So I've got welded here now and I can't hardly get it in there. But you can see right there it's perfectly straight now. But the problem is when I weld on the other side, it's going to move to the other side. So I'm going to leave it as it is right now, and I'm going to put cross braces you know, across from here to there to keep it from moving. I just don't know what I'm going to use yet. Let me see if I can find something here. I think this will work. I'll just weld it down here, and then I'll tack it on up there. That should be enough to keep it from moving. I guess probably should have checked that one more time before I did that. But okay, it's still straight. I really need my respirator mask, but I can't find it. I've looked everywhere. I don't know where it went to. One good thing though, doing it right here is my plasma table is a downdraft table, and it runs a lot of air through this thing, so that's why I opened the door and crack it at the bottom, and it pulls air across the floor. When I grind right here, it pulls everything down into there and blows it outside. So it exits right there, so if any vehicles is parked out there, they kind of get pissed at me. So I'm gonna get this next one tacked on here. I'm probably gonna time lapse most of this. pulling over real slow. So what I'm going to do is, when it comes over where it's supposed to be, I'll tack it back again. I'm going to have to put some more weld on it. Oh man, it's getting there. I don't know if you can hear it pinging, but it's making a pinging noise. And that means that it's cooling down and the metal's shrinking. God, almost, just barely. Just a little bit more weld on it. And there it is. So you can see right there, it pulled it over. Where I let it cool down and welded that little brace on there too soon, it was over probably a 1/4 inch. And where I kept welding on it, letting it cool, and then weld a little bit more and let it cool, it pulled it right back over into place. I don't know if you guys noticed when I was grinding over there, I put my AirPod Pro 3s in. I just bought these a couple of weeks ago. And did you hear it ping again? So that means it's still cooling down. It's trying to pull back this way too much, but it won't because of this right here. But anyway, I didn't know these things had the noise canceling in them. And I put them in and turned it on my phone. You can turn it on to cancel out background noise. And I could barely hear the grinder when I was grinding. But when I started welding, I couldn't hear my weld spark, you know, the splatter. And that's kind of how I weld. I listen to the way the spatter is on it when it's welding. I couldn't hear it, so I had to take them back out. But I really like these things. They're a little small, and I'm scared to death of losing them. But, you know, it works out pretty good. And I can also connect it to the GoPro and use it as a microphone. So I may try using that and see how it works out. I don't know. But they're a little expensive, but I don't know. We'll see how they go, how it works out. I love how this thing's turning out. I'm afraid it's going to be a little bit too heavy for my excavator though. I tried to move it on the table just now and I couldn't even budge it, so I'm figuring each one of these things probably weighs about 30 or 40 pounds each. And that plate right there is probably about 50 by itself. So I know the excavator will lift it, but I don't know what it's going to do when I get like a big log or something on it. It may be too much. And if it is, I'll just take these two ends off. I'll cut them off right here and just have 3. Or I may just, well no, because once I put the ears on, they're going to be in the middle. I guess I could just tack the ear plate on, you know, enough to use it and try it out and see what it does. And if it's too much, I'll move it over and just make it 4 instead of 5. That's probably big enough anyway. 4. I think I may have went too big on this. So I've got all the bottom of the teeth welded onto the top plate. They're not the prettiest welds in the world, but I can guarantee you one thing, they're not going anywhere. And I'm trying to decide if I want to go somewhere in here and put a cross brace or something. I've got this 3-inch tubing over here. I could probably, you know, cut some short pieces and put in between there. But I don't know if it really needs it or not. I may just try it like it is and see if they hold up, and if they don't move, I'll just leave it like it is. But if I see they start bending, I'll put some in. That may be the best thing to do, because this thing's already heavy. And I got to thinking about it, but my tilt rotor with the ditch bucket on it weighs almost 400 pounds. So, you know, if you got that ditch bucket full of mud, you're looking at 500 or 600 pounds. So, you know, surely this thing is probably 250 or 300 pounds, I guess, altogether. So I don't know, it may work out just fine. One reason I wanted to go with 5 teeth on it is because the thumb on my excavator comes out till it'll go in right between these 2 teeth right here, and it'll go right back inside it. Well, it'll go up here. It'll clear on both sides the way I measured it. So that would give me a tooth on either side to hold brush or logs or whatever I was trying to move around. So I'm gonna let this thing cool overnight so I can do something with it, and I'll probably set it down on the floor with the skid steer in the morning, and I'm going to you know, clean these welds up here and smooth them up, and you know, fill in any gaps. And then I'm gonna put a plate, probably a little 3-inch plate on from this plate up to here, and give this end tooth a little bit more extra strength. And that shouldn't add a whole lot of weight to it, because I'm only probably use 3/8 steel, maybe 1/2 inch. I'll decide. But I have some 3/8 Hardox, and that'll work out pretty good. I went home last night and I started downloading my video clips off of the camera to my computer so I could start editing part 2. And I was really shocked at how much video I've got. I probably have enough video clips to do, you know, probably 2 more different videos. And you know, I've cut out much as I can do, and I've sped up a bunch of it and everything, and I'm still running along, you know, 53 minutes I think's what it's at right now, if I don't cut it off. So, you know, I don't really like doing long videos, because they say, you know, long videos don't do as good, that people lose interest. But then you got the guys like Ants Pants. He does 3 and 3.5 hour long videos, and people seem to love his long videos. But if you guys would just leave a comment and let me know if you like the longer videos, or you know, like them short, or you know, what you want me to do. I'll do what you want, and you know, try to make it more interesting for you. And you know, like always, just, you know, like and subscribe and share, and you know, do the new thing called hype on YouTube now. I got 45 new subscribers last week alone, just from that hype, where people had hyped my last video. So, you know, if you don't care, look at that and, you know, hype my video and push it out. The more points I get, the more it pushes it out to other people. So it's a pretty good deal for people with smaller channels, and mine's definitely a small channel. I'm trying to build it as much as possible, but you know, it's a hard deal. People don't realize what it takes to do, you know, the videos and do your work and then still have time to edit it too. So, but like I said, there'll be another part 3, and maybe a part 4. So, you know, look for that in the future. I'm gonna try my best to start posting every Sunday evening around 6 or something like that. So, you know, keep an eye out for my videos. We'll see you on the next one.